talk about discipline without burning out. How high performers stay consistent without totally crashing. Let's be honest. Having a just more disciplined way is the worst advice ever, especially if you're already burning the candle at both ends, right? High performers, yep, we're not struggling because we're lazy. We're struggling because we're doing too much and trying to do everything perfectly. And on top of that, running on fumes with a to-do list that is really unreasonable. I personally put myself in a life and health crisis. I was taking on too much responsibility in my corporate role. I was working longer hours to just try to keep up and try to keep up with everything. Everything going around the house, everything going on with my work. I was using all of my spare time to build a business and take care of my family. On top of all of that, I was so strict with my nutrition, the foods I'm eating, supplements, my workouts. So I got to a point that really every part of my life was becoming so strict. And I started to have issues with sleeping, issues with my hormones, issues with balance, anxiety, and began having immune system issues as well, where I felt like I was just getting sick all of the time. I've never had any of these issues before, and now I'm feeling like I'm falling apart sometimes. I went to my family doctor and to some specialists, and no one could figure out really what was wrong. I had blood work done that came back perfect. My weight was perfect. My blood pressure was perfect. Everything was perfect. But yet I felt terrible and I was having all of these symptoms. And what I found out was nothing was really wrong with my health, but it was my stress. The stress that I personally created. I was constantly in fight or flight mode. You know that feeling when your chest is just pounding so hard, or that you just feel like you're always on. You're always on alert, right? I lived that life 24/7, I think for most of my life. I actually didn't think it was a problem. I just thought it was me. It's just the way that my body operates, that I'm always, on, or feel like I'm highly caffeinated when I'm not. I think I totally burned out my body though. I burned out my adrenals, and my body is basically screaming for help. And I've had to step back a little bit and create a system to get out of it. However, I was able to do so without giving up my work, my business, my family time, and it helped me to create a life that is more meaningful, productive, and peaceful. So how do top performers like you stay consistent without hitting a wall? So let's dive into it. Stress and burnout, they're discipline killers in disguise. Discipline is often misunderstood as just pushing through things no matter what, right? We grind it out no matter how hard things are, just keep going. But the science, it tells a little bit of a different story. According to a 2021 Gallup study, 76% of employees experience burnout at least sometimes, and it spikes even higher among high-achieving professionals, especially those in leadership roles. So burnout isn't about being lazy. It's about chronic stress and no recovery system in place. So no recovery system, it means that you're always in fight or flight mode. Your body is always in this cortisol crisis. And not only is your mental stability, but also your overall health is on the line, seriously. And I'm living proof of that, unfortunately. In short, you can be highly disciplined right up until your body and brain basically hit the brakes. And it does happen. You can only take that high stress for so long, and then it really starts to hit your body hard. And then what? You're not only in a day-to-day crisis of trying to survive in your work or business or family life, but now you've just added a health crisis to the mix. Not good. High performers don't just grind, they systemize. So sometimes you see people, whether it's on social media, I know a lot of that is just showing the highlight reels, but even people that you know people that are just really successful, but yet they seem laid back, relaxed, they don't seem like they're ever in a rush. It's because they've put systems in place to get to their goals, to get the things that they need done. Oftentimes, we have to resource that or really get someone else to help us to get through some things that are mundane and some day-to-day things oftentimes. But sometimes it just all comes down to willpower. And instead of relying on that willpower alone, which is a very limited resource, and that was noted according to the American Psychological Association, elite performers, they build systems that protect their energy and maintain their output. So when we're talking about systems, you might be sitting there thinking, yeah, what kind of systems? And they're systems that you can do efficiently, effectively on your own. Even if, you're trying to build big dreams, but you don't have the budget to really hire people to help you, there's a lot that you can do to build systems around yourself, so that you are moving the needle forward in many different ways. The first one that I've found really a lot of success with is time blocking. So Cal Newport, author of Deep Work, swears by this. It's just basically blocking your calendar for deep focus work, and that can ensure that you're productive, not just busy. I found myself that I was just spending a lot of time trying to check the box on a to-do list, but basically it was busy work. It wasn't that meaningful work, that deep work that really was getting me anywhere. So if you block out everything that's important in your day, your sleep, your meals, your time with your family, exercise, even work breaks, it helps a ton because you're not even thinking about it. It almost puts all of the things that you need to do on automation, and you don't get emotional about it, or you don't start thinking, do I have enough time to eat lunch? Do I have enough time to, run here in between client appointments? You have everything on your schedule, and therefore it shows up on your phone or shows up on your laptop, and it's time to get busy doing something else. So it helps you to manage your time a lot more efficiently. A second tip is habit stacking. So sometimes it's hard to change bad habits, right? But when we look at some tips based on James Clear's Atomic Habits, this involves linking new disciplines on existing habits and bringing in those new habits. So maybe review your top 3 goals while you're drinking your morning coffee, or plan for the next day at the end of the day, maybe the last 30 minutes or maybe 15 minutes of the day of what are you going to accomplish the next day. Then it's already written down or put in your calendar and established, and then you can go about your business, whether it's family time, getting to bed on time, whatever, but you can go and rest in a clear state because you've already got a game plan for the next day. A third tip is energy mapping. And this is really important because we're all so different. We listen to so many gurus talking about getting up, 4 a.m., doing these different morning routines, but you do you, because everyone is so different. Peak performers, they design their days around the natural energy highs and lows. So if you're like back-to-back strategy meetings when your brain wants a nap, it just becomes overwhelming, right? But if you schedule your focus time when you know that you're at your best, and you plan those mundane tasks like email, responding back to emails, or, even some research tasks that are not like that you need to be on your best energy. Do those when you know that the energy is low. Do those at times, just when, that transition, or, after you maybe eat lunch, maybe you're a little tired. Do those things then where you're just really don't have to be on your game. I know for myself, I'm an early morning person, so that helps me. I do a lot in the morning because by the time the afternoon hits, my energy is pretty much wiped out. But I know there's night owls. I know there's some people that sleep a little later in the morning, and it's that mid-morning or midday that they're at their best. So you do you, but map your schedule and the most important tasks to when you have the most energy. So these 3 tips and systems alone, they help to remove that decision fatigue, which is one of the biggest causes of burnout. And it helps you also create consistency without chaos. Recovery is a performance tool, whether you want to tell yourself that or not. I know we're all trying to grind it out and do all of these things, maybe have side hustles on the side of our work, or doing things with our kids, or whatever you want to do. But sometimes you need to step back and get some recovery. So if you want to be relentless and consistent, you have to schedule recovery like a CEO schedules board meetings. Seriously. And I didn't believe in that either. I'm always like, oh, I'll sleep enough when I'm dead, or, I'll get to that someday, but I need to get this done first. It's really important. And I found the hard way that it really enhanced my stress levels and really took a toll on my body and my mind. So a study from Stanford found that productivity per hour, it declines sharply after 50 hours a week. And it really nosedives completely after 70 hours. So think about that. Think about all of us that are working really hard, 70, 80, 90, maybe 100 hours a week, right? Once we hit that 50-hour mark, it's all downhill from here. So makes sense to, if it's that 50 hours or even 40 hours that we're working, when and what gets done during that time. Because otherwise, it may be a lot of wasted time. So working more doesn't mean achieving more. It just increases stress and error rates. So that's why athletes, they prioritize rest and refueling as part of their discipline. CEOs, top consultants, and creatives are catching on. And you can't sustain high performance if your brain feels like a browser with 47 tabs open, right? The secret: discipline needs to include breathing room. And I know that's hard to take, especially when there's so much you want to accomplish and so much you want to do. But I'm telling you, if you do the time blocking, you schedule the hard tasks when your energy is at its best, those 2 things alone will be game changing. I know that I was working a ton of hours. I wasn't doing those things, and I really wasn't getting anywhere, but I was working a ton of hours. So here's the takeaway. Real discipline isn't about punishing yourself into results. It's about creating repeatable rhythms that honor your energy, automate your best decisions, and give you the space to recharge, because we all need it. You're working hard to give yourself the best life possible, right? But if you're always stressed, if you're having health issues, and you just feel terrible, that's not living, right? So the next time you feel like you just need to be more disciplined, ask yourself this instead. What system could make this easier? What can I automate, delegate, or eliminate? And where am I overdoing it instead of optimizing? So look at what you can eliminate effectively instead of adding things on, because the goal isn't just about going hard. It's about going the distance. And our life is a journey, right? So if this hit home, let me know in the comments and tell me where burnout has crept into your life, either lately or in the past, and you had some lessons learned. And if you have any tips, I'm all ears. Share them in the comments as well. So if you found this content helpful, valuable, please consider sharing, please consider subscribing, get that stress level manageable, and we'll see you on the next video.